Hey there, everybody. Um, welcome to the show. I am your host with the most, uh, Ben, aka B Renegade. Right? It's always so funny to try to brand myself and try to put something out there that is, again, I know that I've explained it before, a stage name. Um, well, let's see. I tried doing this a little bit earlier, um, but congratulations to the Chiefs. Whatever. Had I been able to finish out what I was recording earlier, it would have been a um, a prediction versus a congratulations because I actually had picked the Chiefs to win just because I felt that them being there before was going to be a net positive for them. Although the game definitely went well for both defenses for the most part, right? So going on a little tangent here just about football because I love football. Um, I don't care for either team. As you can see in the back right there, I have a Titans helmet, but it's a snack bowl. So um, I don't use it for a snack bowl. It's clearly it's up there for decoration. But yeah, um, the fact that my team's not playing in the Super Bowl, then of course I'm a little bit more salty. But um, just kind of wanted to get this ball rolling again because past week I haven't really done anything. I've been kind of busy dealing with stuff and really trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to talk about. What happened this week? What's been going on? What are the things that are on my mind? And how am I dealing with things that are coming up as they come up, right? Well, let's see. Right now it is currently almost 10:30 p.m. on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. And the week was long. uh, Kind of just real quick, kind of a catch up, right? I guess. Um, Starting from the last update that I posted, anything was on Tuesday. Tuesday was supposed to be my job interview for essentially a promotion in in the company that I work for, but in a different department. And I didn't get to have my interview. Full disclosure, I didn't go into details before, but I'll go into the details now. Um, without, mm, I guess, without revealing the things that I'm not supposed to reveal. I don't know. Anyway, um, the position that I was going for, and like I said, it would have been a promotion. Not to take away from the candidates that were selected to move into this portion or this process, because there were some strong candidates. Two that I'm aware of out of, I believe that there was like four of us that were selected to go through the interview process. Um, I don't know how it went for the other three, but I do know, um, at least in my mind, right? And again, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything like that, but um, I really felt like I was um, head and shoulders above the rest of the candidates only because of my experience within the department or certain aspects of the department that I was applying for. And so I knew that going in, I was going to have quite a leg up. And so I felt fairly confident that once I went through the interview process and subsequently, if I had to go through another one, I was going to be all right and I would more than likely get it. And it didn't happen. Reason I didn't get to go through the interview process is because of the fact that um, in my position, in my job, I am responsible for a team. And part of those responsibilities are um, dealing with and addressing certain actions and behaviors of that team. So, and part of my job is documenting things and managing time cards and stuff like that. And so when things happen and I don't document, of course things fall to the wayside. People kind of stack up um, things against themselves. Now, granted, everybody on the team that I have is a tenured um, team member, and so they are fully aware of the consequences of whatever it is that they do or don't do. And so, um, me just kind of going through the process to be able to handle that is something that I should have been doing, but I hadn't been doing for a while now. Mostly because of the fact that um, going through the changes in my life that have happened. I've discussed recently being divorced and dealing with all of those changes, and then having one of my friends come in and move in with me and whatnot, and having to deal with those changes and all the other things that have gone on in my life. And so work kind of took a back seat in a lot of ways because I was trying to deal with me. I was trying to deal with my stuff and not having that balance even through the chaos um, did not afford me uh, the opportunity to go through this interview process because I was subsequently placed on disciplinary action because of the fact that I hadn't done all the things that I was supposed to be doing. So now, is there a process in place where there could be an exception made? Yeah, sure. I'm under the impression that I'm kind of in that process right now, but we'll see. I'll follow up tomorrow at work and see. I'm not going to be in the office, but I can at least follow up with the people that I need to when it comes to that particular um, next step. So we'll see what happens. If I don't get it, then you know what? Clearly, I wasn't meant to be in that position, and so I can't stress too much about it. Would it have been nice? Yeah, absolutely. Do I feel that I was uniquely qualified for that job? Absolutely. Again, not trying to toot my own horn, but yeah, I do feel like I was uniquely qualified for that. So, and I sure as hell would have tried to do the best damn job I could have. Um, but yeah, so that's what happened with that. Again, I'm in a kind of a holding pattern until I get a complete flat out shutout from it, which I kind of did, but at the same time, in talking to the people that I've talked to, I was led to believe that there might be a little bit of hope, but again, what will be, and just got to move on from there. Um, Monday, this past Monday, I got my new tattoo that I know that I've mentioned. I'm trying to think of how to display it without looking like I'm, stripping. um, let's see, uh, which is I'm probably have to tilt the camera down just a smidge. Yeah, so that's part of it right there. And then there's this other part. Oh yeah, both uh, Latin phrases. One is a little bit more widely known, which is the memento mori uh, part of it. More people seem to be familiar with that either through music that they've listened to or things that they read. The people that honestly, the people that I've come across that are a little bit more familiar with it are a little bit more on the like goth side, which is absolutely cool, just because of the fact that like at least they understand to a degree. Um, and then the other part, nobody really knows unless they know Latin or have an idea of like what language they can kind of translate into from a Latin based language. Um, so the way that it translates for memento mori means remember you must die. Dark, right? But on the flip side, si vis vivere means if you want to live, which is kind of my mantra right now, right? I guess the kind of the mentality that I've been trying to have about a lot of different things. And I mean, you can read it reverse, right? I put it left to right or right to left on me, but you know, when somebody reads it, they'll read it from left to right. And so, um, but I mean, you can read it either way, and I think the meaning kind of comes across the same. Like I said, trying to take this mentality of of the meanings of the phrases. Um, Dying to myself and living the life that I want to live in the best way possible. Um, from a Christian point of view, that I, of course, you know, I've discussed as well, that I tend to look from, or at least try to, for the most part. Now, do I succeed? Clearly, not all the time, because again, I'm human and I'm not perfect, so I'm gonna fuck up sometimes. Probably more often than I care for. um, but remembering to let go of the things that I don't want in my life anymore, killing those parts of me. Now that you know, some people may think of it as like, why do you want to kill those parts of you? I want to kill the parts of me that are a detriment to me, things that hold me back, the negative self-talk, the low self-esteem, all of those things. I want those to die, so that way the better parts, the good parts, will have a chance to live. You know, think about it in the way of a plant, right? Let's say you plant a rose bush and it grows and everything's looking very nice, you know, um, but you don't realize that there's a weed that grew next to it. Well, weeds are evasive. They will choke the life out of other plants. They will take the nutrients that that plant needs to survive, and so ultimately will kill the good parts. And I don't want that. So this is a now a daily reminder, right? When I look in the mirror, is remember to kill those parts of you that aren't good for you. And you know, that's the reason why I got it. Um, for those of you that follow me on Instagram, like my personal account or Facebook, you're gonna see or have seen the the tattoo process, which was pretty fun. That was part of the other reason why I did it, is because you know what, tattoos are fun, painful but fun. It's that feeling, that stinging feeling of like, what the hell? Why did I do it? But then at the end, looking at the end result and saying like, oh, I like that. And I'm already itching for another tattoo. I've already thought of what it is that I want to get. It's gonna be, hopefully it'll be on my forearm. I'm leaning towards the left forearm just because although I'm right-handed, um, I tend to do a lot of things with my left, just for the simple fact that it frees up my right hand. Whereas most people, I don't, I maybe I'm wrong, but I've always noticed that most people tend to, of course, they favor their dominant hand, but they always do everything with their dominant hand, and so then it it monopolizes it, right? Like I've seen so many people wear their watch on the right hand side, which to me is great and all, but I always look at my left. I don't know why. So again, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I'm thinking about what it is that I'm going to get if I do get it anytime soon, which I would want to get it soon just so that way they're both kind of in the both all the tattoos are kind of in the same time frame as far as like healing and all that other stuff. But on to what's been going on. So, again, full disclosure, things that I haven't necessarily talked about either in the Real Men, Real Ish show with Drew or on here. Um, my relationship status, which there isn't a relationship, it's just situationships. um, I know that I've talked at great length before about uh, what's the name? The name that I gave her was Amy. Yeah, I know that I've talked about her at great length. Um, I haven't really talked too much about my ex aside from the things that we've had go on between us. Um, not getting into a lot of detail, but I mean, we still talk for now. Um, I think I did a pretty good job at kind of at changing that tonight. Um, just because of the way that I in my mind the solutions that I can come up with and stuff like that. It's the only thing that makes any kind of sense to me. But it all of these things are rooted in my core issues, my core traumas, and the things that I'm either choosing to deal with or actively choosing to ignore because I am choosing to ignore things, especially because I'm more aware of the way that I may act or feel or think or whatever at any given moment. Um, choosing to ignore is really the apt term. It's the most apt to it, where it's like I'm choosing to ignore the way that I'm going to feel, or I'm going to embrace it. And shutting down is generally the easiest thing for me to do, just because it's so familiar. It's so easy to do, and God, I fucking hate it. I really do. Again, it's like watching a train wreck. Um, you know the car in the middle of the track is about to freaking just get blasted, and yet you still kind of want to see it happen. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now with my emotional processing. Um, tonight, for instance, well, let me get to the lead up to it, I guess. So, situationships, right? Since my divorce, I've met a few different people, a few different women, I mean, um, and have had casual relationships with them. Uh, hasn't been like a plethora of people, but it's been enough, I guess you can say. Um, and there's been potential for others. I mean, I just never took those shots. And mostly because it was just either one, it was kind of a pain in the ass, or it was just two, I knew that I probably shouldn't. I was already dealing with the shit that I'm dealing with now. Um, all of it being substitutes either for my ex or just ways of me not dealing with my own shit. Once again, actively ignoring the the time that I have to process the things that I could. And it hasn't been fair. So, those of you that I'm referring to, if you watch this, you know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that things have happened where you may have felt that I felt a certain way when I most likely didn't, or maybe I did, but I just was never ever really going to allow myself to ever go down that road. And so I just, again, I apologize because it's not really who I really wanted to be. I never wanted to play with anybody's emotions or play with anybody's um, thoughts. Never wanted to be that guy again. Oh, the times that I tell myself I don't want to be like my father, and sure enough, I end up doing this same kind of stupid bullshit that he's done. I'm sure. Granted, with these women, I've sat down before even doing anything. We sat down and laid out ground rules, right? And were they fully observed? Probably not. I mean, clearly, if there's been issues that have arisen from it or whatever, but being able to kind of look back and actually talk with them a little bit more and find out what was going on, was maybe the root causes of things like that. Um, has opened us up to be very friendly and be actual friends and be able to discuss things that um, either otherwise I may not have discussed, or get a different perspective, which is weird, right? Like, how do you go from a casual relationship to a friendship? Um, it's been interesting to say the least, but the friendships that I've developed have actually been really nice. The fact that I can be myself and they can be themselves is quite refreshing, because like I've discussed at length with my ex that there's a long period of time in our marriage that I did not allow myself to be me. It wasn't her fault. It definitely was not her fault. So I don't want her to ever feel like it was her. It's always been me. That's actually one of the things that I had told her before. I had told her in some of our conversations that, like, it's not you. It's me having not dealt with my bullshit, not having dealt with all of the things that I've had to process, and I'm actively now processing. Now, there are things that my ex and I had discussed that probably fed into it. Yeah, absolutely. For instance, there was some resentment on my end towards her for a few things that I should have been able to just say, hey, you know what? I'm feeling this kind of way or whatever. And to a degree, I may have not. I mean, it's been a while. But again, those are my issues. Those are things that I chose to actively do or not do. Subconsciously or not, and these are still things that I myself did, or at least a part of me did. So I have to deal with how it comes up now. Fair? No, not fair at all. Not fair to her, not fair to anybody else that may be involved in the situation, or whatever it is that may be involved with me to some degree. but realistic and genuine. And so, um, trying to get away from that now. Is it easy? No, God, no. And the reason it's not easy isn't because of the physicality. I mean, granted, I'm a guy, right? I'm a I'm a male that enjoys certain aspects of physical relationships, and it's not one of those things where, again, it's not fair. So I'm trying to pull back from that. Easy? No. Again, not easy. Because as I've discovered, leaving one crutch or one some would say addiction for another is not really anything beneficial necessarily, right? Unless I'm going to pour myself into hopefully something positive, which is ultimately my intention. Is pour more myself into getting physically fit and mentally fit and spiritually fit, and so pouring that same time and energy into that while hopefully cultivating the friendships that I'm hoping that I'm cultivating, um, will be a net positive for both me and the people that I'm talking about. I'm trying to I'm trying to be as candid about my position, or like my involvement or my actions in this, right? Where, because again, I don't want to paint anybody in a negative light. That's why I'm not even going to use any pseudonames or anything like that. um I'm just trying to process, I guess. That's part of what this is, right? It's me processing out my thoughts, and my feelings, and what has been going on throughout this whole time. um there's a brief period of time where those things were put on the back burner because of the fact that I decided I was going to chase somebody else, right? So I, again, dedicated all the time and the energy and all of that shit into a different person that ultimately had no future, really. Um, that's been one of the things that's kind of come up this week for me as well. Just stupid little reminders that really shouldn't have fucking mattered at all, but they, for whatever reason, they did. And so, dealing with that, um, dealing with the idea of not getting this new position, um, brought up a lot of emotions, brought up a lot of different things that I have not really sat down until this moment to really try and fucking deal with, and just be like, you know what? That right there is what I should have been dealing with, a couple days ago or whatever it is, or last week and whatnot. And so, kind of brings me to why. Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling? First, it's a matter of rejection, again, from the job aspect. Even though, again, there are some things involved in the whole situation, it's still a rejection, right? It's still a like, you know what, you messed up, so we can't let you move forward. Do I know that feeling all too well, right? Like I've discussed in a previous episode, as far as like growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, here I am getting punished and But those are consequences. Those are consequences to my actions, and rightfully so. But it doesn't. The logistical part and the emotional part are just fucking right at odds with one another, right? They're like, I know it makes sense in my mind. It makes absolute perfect sense. Like, if this, then that. That's what happens. The emotional part, again, going back to that shatter point of mine from being a teenager, where I didn't really understand or know any better, to the point now where I have a better understanding. And again, logistically, things make sense. I understand. Doesn't make the pill any easier to swallow, I guess. And going through that emotion, having to feel that again, allowed me to just kind of be like, all right, well, where can I seek the affirmation that I want? Like, well, oh, these people, um, these particular situationships, right? Like looking at it and being like, oh, I'm gonna get the affirmation there. Again, processing this now, pretty fucking selfish, and it's not fair to you. And I apologize again if you watch this. And so, I'm taking a big risk, I guess, in this. But at the same time, like, I gotta deal. I gotta process this shit, and it's not fucking easy. I hate it so much. So, woo, it's it's a little a little something there where I was I'm trying to. I thought I had muted it, or not muted, but I thought I had I thought I had silenced my phone. I apologize for that. Um, I am again just trying to process all of this, and God, again, I fucking hate it. I hate it. Like, I guess I'm gonna get into some of the other stuff. Um, so getting into some of the other stuff, right? Um, well, aside from dealing with all the emotional ups and downs of this past week, and having to face things again, right? Because it's a never ending process. It's one of those things that I tend to honestly subconsciously avoid again, and then at the same time, because I'm aware of the fact that I avoid, I become conscious about it. And it sucks because I don't want to stay where I'm at. It's a ongoing process. So, you know, during the game, uh, I was hanging out with someone really close to me. Again, I don't want to go into a lot of the detail stuff. Um, and we were talking, and we got into the topic of me. Somehow, inevitably, that it ends up that way. And a lot of times, we'll get into a conversation about like real substantive things, and eventually the conversation it devolves. It devolves into some kind of argument or something along those lines where I just shut down. And we both know that I tend to do that. And it's not even that I want to shut down. It's just so much information is coming in at one time where I just shut down. I was just like, okay, I've reached my point where I need to process. And so as we went through the conversation, uh, this person said that I was a narcissist, or at least, narcissistic tendencies. Which I think, honestly, if I sit down and really go through it, I think a lot of people have it. They don't know it, and they're just tendencies. It doesn't mean that they are. There are some people. Don't get me wrong. There's people out there that are, and right now, the society that we're in, that word is thrown around pretty heavily. Um, Even if you're not being, it people will throw that around just because there's that understanding. I guess the people understand it to be a certain thing, whereas the people that really are, if you compare them to to the people that we might think are, there's a difference. And in the course of that conversation, I looked up the definition and I said, okay, well, these things here, is that what you really think? And for a second, there was that like, yeah, kind of, right? And I was taken aback for a minute, and I got pissed. I'm not gonna lie, I got mad, and kind of argued about some stuff. Had a little bit back and forth on it, and then the night was over, and I came home. And being home, well, even the drive home was a little mentally rough for me. Like, why did I get so pissed? What was it about what was said that just, mm. And it's because there's a grain of truth, and that's kind of where what I'm saying is like, I think everybody has a some kind of tendency to be selfish, to be, apathetic, and I don't think it's necessarily that any one person may be like an actual narcissist. I think it's more so that just, we're told we got to do certain things in our society. We're told we have to act certain ways, and when we don't, then it's seen as unfeeling or selfish. But I can wholeheartedly admit when I'm being that way, right? Like, I know when I'm being selfish and when I'm not feeling anything towards anybody. That it's actually more of a familiar feeling than anything else. Like shutting off the emotions and not wanting to deal with any of them. And it's pretty easy, actually. Um, but again, coming back to everything, it's not stuff that I want to do. It's just the way that things go. But being aware of it at least makes me more willing to want to work on it, at least for me, right? Like, I've talked with another friend of mine who has dealt with people that tend to run a little really realistically more narcissistic, more unfeeling, more manipulative. And when I hear that, I'm like, wow, okay, I'm definitely not that way. Like there's certain things about those other people that maybe I can identify with, but not to the degree at what they're where they're at. So, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, well, at least I'm not that way. But again, it's because I think it's more so because I'm aware of what is going on and what it is that I'm looking to accomplish, and so I'm working on those things. But it struck a nerve, right? It struck a nerve, and I think that's one of the things that I've learned through therapy as well. Is that like if somebody says something to you and it hits a nerve, there's something in there that is being defensive about it, right? Like you're gonna be defensive about it because it's like, oh wait, you're kind of exposing me, and because if there was nothing there to bother you about it, you wouldn't be bothered by it. You'd just kind of, you know, like water on a duck's back again, like it'll just roll off. But if there's something there, then clearly you're gonna feel some kind of way, and that was what happened last night or tonight, whatever. Anyway, um, it struck a nerve for a reason, and I have to sit back and think to myself, okay, what is it that caused that? What is causing that emotional, like, just ah. And it's because, yeah, I have been unfeeling towards some people more than others. I've uh, I've been very much the trying to make it okay in my own mind, right? Trying to justify it. That's the word. I was like, what is the word? Trying to justify these my actions and whatnot by telling myself and telling others that, you know what, no, I'm not being apathetic. I'm not being entirely selfish because of the fact that, like, these situationships that I've gotten myself into, again, the ground rules were laid out. So I said, all right, well, this is where we're at. This is what we're gonna do, and we can't progress any further than this because that's not where I want to be at. But that was me setting those ground rules, right? At least if I sit down and I really like think about those conversations, hmm, yeah, I'm setting the ground rules. And out of the few that I've been in or that I've had or whatever, only one, only one came to me with the ground rules, and I was like, oh, what do you mean? like, like, what do you mean? Like, oh, that's all you want? Okay, I can deal, but inevitably emotions get involved. It just, I don't know. So I know that I'm having to reevaluate that one entirely because now the shoe's on the other foot, and I don't like it. Before I had a semblance of control where I was like, okay, this is this and this is that. The boundaries are not allowed to cross. Well, when you have somebody else tell you that, it's like, wow, okay. I clearly did not expect this one. I did not expect to see it this from this point of view. And I'm a contrarian. right? I am 100% a contrarian. Again, you say up, I say down. If only just to have the debate, honestly. It isn't even a matter of like, oh, again, here we go with the phone. I'm trying to freaking, should have, there we go. There's a theme, right? Like my ringtone is the power the original Power Rangers theme song, and then my notification sound is the communicator that they use on the show. I'm not a Power Ranger fan at all, but um, again, knowing that I'm a contrarian kind of lends itself to be like, okay, well, you want to be this way, and I want this other thing, or I want more out of it. Knowing damn well that I shouldn't, like knowing full damn well that I shouldn't, especially in this particular situation. Um, there are differences, which, again, I'm not even going to go into those details. Uh, but needless to say, that there are differences between this person and I that, if I'm being realistic, the the outcome of a relationship is probably not ideal, because we see things in a very different light just based off of our own experiences. And so, yeah, we get together, we have fun and whatnot, but that's the extent of it. Like, yeah, there's a part of me that wants to romanticize certain things and be like, yeah, this could be this way or that way or whatever. But that's not true. Like, it's the shine of the new thing, right? Just like when you're a kid, when you get a new toy, you get new clothes, you get something new, you just want to use that. You want to do that. You want to be around that particular thing all the time because it's new. It's like, oh, okay, now I get to do this, I get to do that or whatever. And that's what I think a lot of this breaks down to for me right now is I think that it's more so like I had started off with certain situations, certain things, certain people, and then out of nowhere, this new person comes along. She says, "Hey, look, you know, you seem like a great guy, yada yada yada. However, this is all I want." Well, that's a bit of an affirmation, right? Like there's that thing where it's like, "Ooh, somebody wants something from me." Now, granted, it's all in the and it's all being physical, and this person doesn't want the emotional baggage that comes with any of that, which, again, quite frankly, is not what I wanted to do, and it's not what I want to do. Hell, I'm even getting to a point where right now, like I'm even questioning the whole physical aspect of these things, just because of the fact that like I am in essence running away from dealing with stuff when I engage in those activities. Like, I'm doing this stuff so that way at that moment I'm not alone. I'm being viewed as useful, and there's that person next to me for, even if it's for just a few hours, just like, okay, great, I get to be around that person, and like, or they, it's fulfilling some untreated need in me. And so, without thinking too much about it, of course, it lends itself to kind of be, I'm going to be more emotional about it. And it's like, wait, no, don't do that. Don't get involved in something that clearly is not going to work. And before anybody says anything like, "Oh, how do you know it won't work?" No, trust me. If I get to talk to any of you person to person, you'll understand why it wouldn't work. So once I give the breakdown, you'll understand why. But that's not something that, again, I'm not even going into pseudo names or anything like that. All I'm doing is just detailing the situations. And so, yeah, the emotions, and then one of the other things that I've realized about the things that I tend to do is emotional transference. Never really dealing with where the emotions originated from, or the person that they originated with, and just kind of grab those feelings that I have for that person or whatever it is that's going on, and then I move it over here to this other person. And now, unbeknownst to them, they have more of me than they should, because now I'm tied emotionally more so to them than they are to me, and so it's just like, ooh, I no, let's take that emotion back, bring it back in. Either one, unpack it and deal with it, or just put it back on that other person for right now, but don't deal with that person. Just take a look at what's going on at hand. So realizing that is like, okay, clearly I'm not entirely attached to this other person. It just seems like I am because I haven't dealt with the emotions over here. So it's easy for me to just move them over this way. And again, that's not fair. Not to that person and not to me, because it creates expectations. Like, wait, no. Like, we're not here for expectations, all right? Let's not do that. Now, is there a time where I can eventually talk to somebody and actually, unpack all of this stuff and be like, hey, you know what? This is what's going on in my life. This is how I'm dealing with things. This is where I'm at as far as like emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all of those things. Yeah, I think I think there are people out there. I mean, I've met a friend recently who from get go we've just been like, boom, all right, this is this is that, and that's been refreshing. Um, Never felt like I needed to hide anything. Never felt like I needed to suppress any of it, and that's been pretty neat. With these situations that I've put myself in, and dealing with, also dealing with my ex. I wasn't like, yeah, I was honest about things and open about everything that was going on if asked, but at the same time, those things started off a certain way, and so any kind of transition into anything else, like I said, transitioning with one to a friend hasn't been that difficult, at least for me. And again, but that's my perspective, right? That's not this necessarily this person's perspective. And so just kind of going and thinking, okay, well, these are this is something different, and just transitioning into that friendship, which I appreciate so much, honestly. Just because of the simple fact that, like, this person will emotionally slap the shit out of me when necessary, which is great. um, and I'm fortunate enough to have that in a few different people in my life, where, like, you know what, they're gonna tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear, and that's all I want. In in being out there, putting myself out there, I've told some people that I've met recently that, like, look, I don't need somebody to tell me all the sweet things or tell me what it is that I want to hear. Is it nice? Yes, absolutely. Because who the hell doesn't want to fucking hear, good things about themselves, especially when they have a tendency of putting themselves down or not wanting to believe the good things about them. So it's nice to to hear those things, and I don't want to take that away from anybody. Like, but at the same time, I want to hear what I need to hear versus what I may want to hear. Yeah, it's nice to be told again. It's nice to be told, oh, you're nice, you're this, you're that, you're doing such a great job with this or with that. And it feels good for the moment, but when you don't fully believe it yet, or when you're not fully ready to accept it, that shit sounds really good for a second, and then all of a sudden now it feels like expectations. It feels more weight on you, and it's just like, yeah, fuck this shit. I don't want to deal with it. No, 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 no. I don't like. I feel so much better just putting myself down. That feels natural. That feels normal. That's easier to cope with. And again, I would much rather hear, you know what, I'm not interested in you, or like, I think this about you, and like, it's not that you're bad or anything like that. It's just that these certain things about you are fucking irritating, or have um, make me feel this way about you as in these moments. And it's like, oh, okay, when I hear that, it's like, oh, am I maybe hurt a little bit sometimes? Yeah, because again, I'm getting hit with something that I need to hear. So it's kind of like, woof, why? Like, first of all, you're seeing a part of me that I'm trying to hide, right? Like, I'm trying to keep that away from people. And the fact that you see it means that you're in closer than I anticipated. But that's okay, because clearly I'm the one who gave that access, right? Either whether I knew it or not, I'm the one who opened that door. And so now I'm left again, kind of like thinking to myself, well, great. I thought I processed some of this stuff. I thought I was dealing with some of this stuff. And it rears its ugly head again. Um, earlier in the week, I was at work thinking I'm good. I'm doing my job, doing the things that I need to do, and I see this, like, reel on Facebook or something on Instagram, and again the emotions were just like overwhelming to the point where I started crying. And I'm sitting there at my desk, good solid 3-4 minutes, just crying my eyes out. And I'm just like, where the hell did this come from? Like, yeah, I saw something that was like reminded me of somebody, but at the same time, like, why am I feeling this way? Have I not processed that out yet? Have I not dealt with that? And I have, to a degree, but at the same time, it's a process. And I'm just like, man, why am I dealing with it? Like, I don't want to. Well, don't suppress it. Don't do that. That's why I cried. I was like, I'm feeling some kind of way, and I can feel myself when I'm about to, like, break down like that. And I could stuff it. I'm good at stuffing it. Like, I could just be like, nope, we're not dealing with that shit. Maybe we'll unpack it later. Maybe we won't. More than likely, I won't. So I have really only one option left. Deal with it in that moment. And I know that if I get up from my desk and try to walk towards somewhere to kind of allow myself to feel it, I'll convince myself, excuse me, I'll convince myself to not feel it. So what do? I sit there, duck behind the wall of the cubicle, and just kind of like quietly, as much as I can muster, let it out. And just process it in that moment. Like, why am I feeling this way? What is it that caused it? Oh, it's because I saw this and it reminded me of this person. And now I just need to let it go. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm processing still stuff that I thought I had processed, that I was dealing with, that I thought I had dealt with. All in the meantime, still trying to figure out what it is the fuck I want to do with certain aspects and certain people in my life. Do I feel some people are better for others than not? Yeah. Um, do I want to lose the people that I have in my life right now? No. Would it be possibly healthier if I did? If I'm being honest. Yeah, maybe. Like, and that right there, I think, is the scary part. It's knowing that sometimes there are some people that you just have to kind of let go, even if it's for a little while. Especially when you know that they may feel a certain way about you, and maybe you feel certain ways about them or whatever. But at the same time, you know that things are not healthy the way that they are. So to try to engage in anything is ultimately just going to end in disaster. Um, and then the fear sets in. Oh dear God, the fear. Fear of what? Well, fear of being alone. That's what this week has taught me so far as well, because I've been by myself. Now again, have I had company? Yes, I've had company come over, and for that brief period of time, that fear is suppressed. But most of the time, it's been me alone. Like, yeah, I go out and I do what it is that I got to do as far as like, um, try to go to the gym, and I also try to like, I got to do shopping, but that's neither here or there right now. Um, that fear that comes in and says, "Yeah, you had a shot, buddy, but you fucked it up." It's like, wait, what do you mean? Like, no, how? Like, I think to myself, you know what? I am. I'm still too young to quit, but I'm too old now to just deal with bullshit. And so that makes I guess being able to compromise on certain things a lot harder. Again, I know it's like, you know what? No, I don't want to deal with this bullshit. I don't want to deal with that bullshit. No, that person, yeah, they look great, they seem great, but eh. And So again, I'm not willing to deal with certain level of bullshit that are just like, yeah, no, we're not dealing with that today. I'm not dealing with that ever. I already have my own bullshit that I got to deal with, and then that's enough. You know, um, I'm that's that's where I'm at, right? That's where I think a lot of people may be at, but they're not necessarily aware of it. They're not fully like understanding of it or whatever it is. Again, I mean, I'm not fully understanding of it. I know certain things about myself, right? I see things um, more than other people that I'm around. Um, a lot of people that I've hung out with and stuff like that. That it's like, oh, you're not dealing with your shit. That's cool. Suppress it over there. I can only deal with so much. And I'm gonna keep doing that, right? I gotta keep doing it. I gotta keep again, like I said before, I gotta fucking take that sword and just keep chopping at those demons until they're no longer an issue. Again, I wake up and have a daily reminder now that the things of myself that I do not want in my life anymore, I have to fucking kill them. I have to kill those parts of me that would otherwise negatively impact me and see me do, you know, things to other people that I don't necessarily want to do as far as like hurt them and stuff like that. So, you know, that's where I'm at right now. But this helps. This part helps. This putting it out there and just kind of like letting other people see like, hey, you know what? Ben's fucked up. uh, I think we all are to a degree, whether we know it or not. The ones that know it are a little bit more like, uh, and then they see it in other people, and it's like, oh. The ones that are, you know, in ignorance, good for you. If you want to be, if you're able to live that, then by all means. I just can't anymore. So on to the next week, right? On to the next week of processing and honestly being alone again for a majority of the week. I know that Drew's going to be coming into town on Tuesday. We'll hang out for a little bit before he heads back out. Hopefully, put together an episode, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I don't know if anything that I said today makes any damn sense to anybody other than to myself, and even then, it doesn't fully make sense to me either. So, I'll go ahead and wrap it up. Remember to just keep doing the work, keep chopping away at those demons, because ain't nobody else gonna do it for you. So, um, hopefully, I'll get this uploaded and out there soon, and get back onto the more regular grind where this will actually be again happening more frequently versus just once a week. Until next time, of course, this has been the show. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.